best as we can so that we deliver the goods for our people.
How would you say 2025 ended for you personally?
Well, I think it went well. It was a very hectic year. I moved straight from the campaign into government and the processes leading up to setting up the government. So it's been a hectic year. There was hardly any rest, but I think that all said and done, the effort we put in was worth it. It yielded substantial fruits, which have benefited the generality of the Ghanaian people. So we are happy to put in more hard work going forward.
Sometimes the energy with which you used to do campaign, right, and some of the things you envisage, when you get a government, is it blare, is it cloudy, is it okay, is it what you see as you saw it?
No, government is far more intense than campaigning. And when you are campaigning, you only make commitments. It's easy to make commitments. In government, you have to act. And especially in circumstances like ours, where there are resource constraints, you have to find ways of first generating the resources and then applying those resources to meet the promises and commitments you made to the electorate. Often it is not an easy thing to do, but because we came in prepared, we came in with a clear plan, we have been able to start off in a manner that has been convincing, in a manner that many people are happy about. And we are gratified that that is the case, and we commit to do more going forward.
The NDC government, one of the let's say messages they sold to Ghanaians would be accountability, and that really takes expression in your series that you've been running, the Government Accountability Series, with the Minister for Trade and Agribusiness taking the recent turn. That whole series in itself, if you look at it, is it yielding the intended purpose?
Oh, absolutely. Accountability takes various forms. There's, I beg your pardon.
Sorry.
There's an aspect where you in the media come making inquiries about government programs and about any number of issues, which is all well and good, and we do our best to respond to you and provide answers. But there's also the need to be proactive. In other words, take the issues to the doorstep of the people even before they raise it. There's also something called process communication. Between the period that you start something and the time that it gains traction and yields fruits, you need to keep the people informed and carry them along. After all, we are in government only because of the people. We are here because the people give us power and a mandate, and then give us resources to execute the mandate. So in the execution of the mandate, we need to carry them along, keep them informed, and make sure that they understand exactly what we are doing. So we thought that there was a need to create a platform that is regular, through which we disseminate government information and keep the public apprised of what exactly we are doing in government, sector by sector, so that everything government is doing, they are made aware of. And therefore, we started this sometime last year. All key ministers have been here, save a few, and it's gone very, very well. It receives wide media coverage. The feedback has been great. We also leverage social media to reach as many of our people as possible, and we've enjoyed very pleasant cooperation from you, the media, and this has ensured that the message reaches the people. This year will continue. The first to appear was the Trade Minister only a couple of days ago, where she recounted work that her ministry has been doing, the gains that have been made, and what the plans are going forward. We expect the Minister for Works and Housing to be here next week.
Works and Housing.
Works and Housing. He will take his turn next week, and once he does, he will also update the country on
what's likely to take center stage.
Oh, I think that the issues of housing, works, water, and all the other things that come together.
Everybody's looking forward to Segleme housing.
Of course, he will give an update on it. He will provide an update. Even if he doesn't, I'm sure the media will ask questions, but he will definitely provide an update on Segleme and other housing projects that are ongoing there.
But what's the difference between this series that you coordinate from the one that happened in the previous government? What's the difference?
Oh, I think that, first of all, it is held at the presidency.
Okay.
So the stakes are much higher. And then the way that we structure it, we do it within a very specific time frame. and we ensure that it is crisp, it doesn't drag too long and bore the audience, and that the ministers cut to the chase and deal with the issues that really matter. And thus far, it's been good. It's been good. I think that through that, we've managed to. And also, the use of social media has been quite impressive in this one. So on all platforms, we gain the traction that we need.
While I understand what this government accountability series seeks to do, I can't help but just take a look at the RTI that kind of obligates public institutions to make available data sets.
That is true.
Most information that the public would need. Do you think that if RTI was functioning very well, you would need this?
No, RTI does not compel ministries, departments and agencies to give proactive information. What often happens is that people who are interested in obtaining specific information about anything happening in any government agency write to request for that information. The agencies are obliged, of course, subject to specific conditions, to provide that information. So there was a word of difference between that and proactively going to the public through the power of the media with information about government operations, activities, and how the mandate is being utilized, and also how the promises and commitments that we made to the people are being implemented. Yes.
I ask this question because while we expect the ministries or public agencies to come and give this accountability to the public, it's quite difficult because then we see that sometimes they take questions which you often will moderate. And if information is not already available, journalists like myself, if you don't proactively presume certain areas that the minister would come and give account on, then you have to attend to that series first, listen, and then ask questions. If information was already available, would it be any different?
Yes, but the whole idea is first for the minister to account for his or her stewardship. What exactly has happened in the ministry? Because of the constraints of time, it is not possible to discuss everything that has gone on. So there may be a few matters that may not be touched on. That is where the input of journalists is needed. Because before the ministers come, it is advertised. So you know exactly who is coming. And therefore, you do your research, carry out your research, which I expect journalists to do anyway. Even for this interview, I'm sure you did your research on the relevant issues to know what questions to ask and all that. So it's the same with the journalists. They may have issues that may not necessarily have been raised at the events, and to the extent that it is relevant to the sector, we encourage the journalists to ask those questions, and the ministers are prepared to answer as best as they can.
What do you say to people who say that it's just a platform for government personnel to make themselves look good?
Oh, how so? I mean, the people who come here to do it, the ministers, I mean, they can be assessed on the basis of the content that they deliver. So when the minister says anything, and in this day and age, it is very possible to fact check and verify the information that is given out. So it is not a beauty contest, it is not a popularity contest, it is only a platform designed to render accounts to the people of Ghana in whose name we work in government.
For another type of accountability, or let's just say for check, when a minister or a ministry appears on that platform, and of course you say that the stakes are different because it's held at the presidency and they make certain commitments. For your office, what do you do to ensure, to compel them to ensure that these commitments that they have said or made on these platforms, they adhere to it? For example, the Attorney General said that in January he would be charging Kofi Akpaloo. For example, if January ends and he doesn't, for your ministry, what would you do? How can we?
Oh, I think that it even goes beyond my outfit. There's a system in government through which government commitments and assurances are monitored. So the system that prods ministers to live up to their words and the commitment. I mean, in any event, even before that commitment is made, the minister would have been mandated to carry out that activity by cabinet, because cabinet is about decision-making body in government. So cabinet meets regularly to consider government policy and then give approval for the implementation. The minister would regularly have to report to cabinet on implementation. So even before the minister comes out, government itself will be aware of where things are in terms of implementation. And then where there are gaps, there's a mechanism through which they are prodded to fill in those gaps. Of course, on my part, because I need to keep up with what is happening everywhere, I'm constantly in touch with the minister to find out what is happening. And sometimes when we pick up feedback on aspects of their work, we relay to them. We seek clarification, we seek clarity. Sometimes we have inquiries from journalists both within and without the country who want information about any number of issues, and we direct them to these ministries, or where it is necessary, we as it were put together the information and give it back to them. So we play a coordinating role in terms of finding out whatever is happening in government, and that is my job. On a daily basis, I have to stay on top of the issues and find out what is happening everywhere.
It's an early start of the year, but a lot is happening already, from NPA, from oil marketing companies up in arms against each other already. In fact, Ghana Statistical Service giving us some data that a good number, or a significant number of people have moved from multi-dimensional poverty level to some good rate. But if you look at the data again, it draws our attention to the fact that some regions still are quite unevenly distributed. Many say that development doesn't really get to certain regions. This is not a problem that started under your regime, started years ago. But now the data is available to you. What does this data tell you? Well,
I mean, many reasons account for the disparity. Sometimes the age of the regions. A region that was recently created is most likely to lag behind others that have been there for quite some time. It is a natural order of things. And so development has to be evenly spread. So if you look at some of the policies that President Mahama is implementing, he has said, for instance, that in all the new regions should get new district hospitals where they don't have any. The new regions should get universities where none exists, and certain specific facilities and development projects should go to these regions. Now that we achieve some equilibrium, or if you like parity, in the human development indices in these places. All that is done to deliberately ensure that development is evenly spread. The word actually is equity, because what may be needed in Accra will not be the same as what may be needed, for instance, in the central region. The needs differ. So depending on their needs, policies are tailored to respond to those. But where there are commonalities in terms of the things that are required, an effort is made to distribute them evenly. As we said, it's a long-standing problem, and there are regions that clearly lag behind.
Is migration playing any role in this?
Oh, of course. If you could argue that if the best and brightest in these regions constantly live in search of greener pastures in areas that they perceive to be more advanced, more developed, then it's going to leave a certain deficit in the areas where they come from. But if we plan development such that it is equitably spread, and that everywhere in this country has a basic minimum level of development that makes life comfortable for the people, it will not be necessary for the best and brightest in these regions to live to urban areas in search of what they perceive to be greener pastures or better opportunities. Once that is achieved, then you are going to be able to partly resolve the problem. And government is interested in ensuring that opportunities are equally distributed. In fact, if you look at the way that the District Assembly Common Fund has been utilized, for instance, we put a guideline on the way that the funds should be utilized. So, for instance, we have something we call a 24-hour economy market. We notice that it is not every part of this country that has a modern market or commercial trading facility. And therefore, it was necessary to have an intervention that ensures that every district at least has a market or trading facility of an appreciable standard, such that they don't lag behind other areas and then create the sort of disparities that you are referring to. And so this is currently
24-hour economy has my attention. We'll come to that.
Sure.
This is on the table. Let's go back to some of the things that the GSS mentioned were the reasons, were the thematic areas they used. In fact, one area that shocked me was health. I would have thought standard of living would just be okay, employment, education. But health took the second pointer, which they used. Then it brings me to the Agenda 111, which you brought. Of course, you have uncapped the NHIS, but Agenda 111, what kind of Agenda 111 did the previous government leave for you? Because we hear different accounts of it, and I'll take it from you that what kind of Agenda 111 did you inherit?
Well, I think that it was always clear from the very beginning that it was a rushed policy. It was not properly thought through. It was a knee-jerk response to, if you like, political criticism that the government at the time had not done much in terms of health infrastructure. And so they were in a hurry, especially because elections were approaching, to show that they were doing something about health. And you recall that this promise was first made in 2019, 2020 at the height of COVID. It wasn't post-COVID. When COVID broke out, it was at the height of COVID that the promise was made. But it was clear that it was knee-jerk because it was an ambitious program. Yet there was no corresponding allocation of resources to complete it. If I remember correctly, they said each hospital was going to cost $17 million to construct. That is plus equipment. And therefore, if you did the math, they needed a minimum of $2 billion, which at the time, even if you use an exchange rate of 15 cedis, it would be 30 billion cedis. It was obvious that government was going to struggle, especially given the state of the economy at the time. The government was going to struggle to meet this particular objective. And lo and behold, they couldn't finish one and open it for public use before they left office.
The person who was quite directly in charge, Dr0ps, mentioned that he quite would not agree when we say that none of them were operationalized, because even when they inherited the government at the time that you left, they had some hospitals that they came to operationalize. They mentioned UGMC, they mentioned...
There are two different things. UGMC was fully funded. At the time they came to power, we had secured $217 million out of UGMC. In fact, President Mama actually opened UGMC, I think on January 4th.
They say they operationalized it.
Well, I don't know what they mean by operationalizing. But President Mama opened UGMC on January 4th, 2017, I beg your pardon, before he left office. Of course, there were a few things that they needed to add, but there was money set aside to do that. That was not the case under Agenda 1. There was not a dime anywhere. Indeed, the Auditor General has recently said that there were instances where they even paid some contractors some money, up to about $7.9 million. And the contractors did not set foot on any site to construct the hospitals after having taken the money. But that was not the case for UGMC or the Radio Hospital or any of the other hospitals that they had to do some minimum work in order to, as it were, operationalize. So we are talking about two different things. If you inherit a situation where there's money sitting on an account to complete a project, completing it will be much easier than when you don't mean anything. They initiated a program that was going to cost $2 billion, and yet did not have $2 billion to finance it. So it was always going to be an albatross around the neck of government.
This to suggest that every project that is started by a certain government will usually have funds available.
So there are different types of projects. For example, if we were doing a 3-unit classroom block, a 6-unit classroom block, that one you can use the trickles that often comes by way of GOG funding to complete it. But when you design a $2 billion project, you need to have dedicated funding. Otherwise, it's going nowhere. So it depends on the kind of project you are doing. That is why when we were doing those mega projects, we had money. Look at the Terminal 3. Money had been secured for it. The KJT market, we had over $250 million from Deutsche Bank also to complete it. Look at the Temampakadam project. We had close to $400 million from the Indian Exim Bank to undertake it. UGMC had $270 million. Radio Hospital had $250 million to complete. So all these projects were funded. So when you inherit it, all you need to do is to draw down to carry out any activity that is left to operationalize it. But in the case of Agenda 111, they didn't leave anything. So it was more like slogans that they were singing. They tried to scratch around for money here, money there through within government's own budget in order to be able to do the program. It was obvious that the money was not forthcoming. That is how come they were not able to operationalize. Because how can you plan to build 111 hospitals and not open even one over a period of 5 years?
But I thought the President commissioned about 3 of them.
That is not true. None of them was operational. There was not a single patient that had entered any Agenda 111 hospital when we came to power.
What's the government doing about it then?
So government has decided that it's not going to be able to scramble $2 billion or whatever. I think at the last instance, we need about $1.5 billion to complete it. And therefore, it is obvious that finding that kind of money at this time will be difficult. So we have to do it in phases. Okay. So this year, money has been set aside in the budget to complete 10 of them. And then as we go forward, more and more will be brought on stream. That is a more sustainable way of addressing it, rather than spreading ourselves thin and looking for money where it does not exist and purporting to completing all of them at the same time when we are clearly unable to do so. But that is a lesson in how not to govern, how not to make lofty promises when you know clearly that you do not have the means to carry it out. But we have learned lessons, and therefore whatever we do, we plan it carefully and then are able to realize the resources required to be able to execute it.
Talking about health, another area comes to mind. Lightwave was a conversation that came to the fore at the end of 2025. I still think it's lurking in the background. And since we're talking about health, it's just okay that we address it. Again, because of the pool or where we go to take information, data sets and data sources. Did it surprise you that, of course, today you may have to confirm, did we have control over our data?
We did not. I think the health minister held 2 press briefings on the matter, and the facts were very, very clear. First of all, as of the time that we came to power, no contract existed between us and Light because the contract had elapsed. They were unable to complete the project within the period that was stated in the contract. And 3, it was obvious that we did not have control over the data. Indeed, you can testify that there were many instances where there were glitches because the person who was in charge of it was switching it off and on as and when he pleased because of the dispute he had with the health minister.
The explanation don't cut it.
I don't think that the explanations suffice. Bottom line is that when we came to power, they had not completed the project. We did not have control over it, and therefore steps are being taken now to ensure that we build a system that we have full control over and that we are not at the mercy of any individual who can do as they please.
Well, we would build on that.
So I think that the health ministry should be able to give you much better update on it, but I do know that we are not far away from fully operationalizing it. Yeah.
Okay. And so generally, I'm keen on health because of the way it took the center stage in how it contributed to people moving out or in and out of poverty level. Generally, what kind of health sector are we looking to have?
I think that we need a health sector that is fit for purpose and that is able to address the health concerns of the people. So we need to have the infrastructure. We need to have the systems. We need to have the value chain that enables healthcare delivery to be administered to our people. So government has quite elaborate plans on what to do. Again, it is even one thing to have the infrastructure and quite another to have people afford the services that are rendered. So we have NHIS, but for many years, NHIS had underperformed. There were issues with releases of funding, and there were issues with arrears and debts owed service providers and what have you. That is no longer the case because the president, right from the time that he was campaigning to be elected, insisted that he would uncap the NHIS, which he has done. That has freed more resources, so that now NHIS is in a position to honor claims payments promptly. Indeed, the last time I conferred with the CEO of the NHIS, he told me that they had money in their accounts waiting for claims to be made.
That's nice
by the service. But yes, that's the first time that I'm hearing this with the NHIS. In the past, the releases were few and far between. They were sparsely done, and even the one that was released was not timeously disbursed to health service providers, and it created a mess. Now that has been overcome, so much so that they have enough resources to even try other interventions, like the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, for instance, into which about 2.4 billion Ghana cedis has been allocated to address issues of non-communicable diseases and chronic diseases that afflict many people in this country. And the cost of treating non-communicable diseases is quite prohibitive, and so it's become a major problem. I think that sometime in 2024, the year before, it became topical with the closure of the renal center at Kolebu and other such developments. Again, because of the uncapping of the NHIS, we are now able to roll out the free primary healthcare initiative, and 1.5 billion Ghana cedis has been allocated to that. So you see that our health system is performing better than before, and the government is determined to tie all loose ends. So we have a health system that is robust and able to meet the needs of our people.
I mean, back to accountability, just when we were making the point about Agenda 1, you brought the conversation on the 35 contractors that the Auditor General had just also flagged. Where are we with that?
But I think that he has surcharged them. He has requested or demanded refund. So that Auditor General will invoke appropriate laws to pursue them, and therefore we expect that within reasonable time he should be able to recover.
Does it look like we can recover all of it?
Well, there are legal processes to use to do so, and therefore I'm sure the Auditor General is well versed in what steps to take to recover those funds.
I'm a Ghanaian and as a journalist as well, I hear looks like there's a certain appetite and temperature for accountability for corruption and corruption-related matters. Every time the Attorney General mounts to your podium and gives an account on where he is with certain corruption and corruption-related cases, the country really gets our full attention.
Yeah.
The whole fight against corruption and corruption-related matters in this country, what's your personal assessment before we take it?
Well, I think that it was obvious that there was simply too much waste and corruption and theft of public resources. I think that you in the media were the ones who used to bombard us with corruption scandal after corruption scandal. And it got to a point where people simply became fatigued and simply came to the conclusion that there was a need to change government in order that those who are believed to have engaged in such corruption are held to account. The NDC tabled the Operation Cover All Routes as a proposition to the people as a main tool through which we will ensure that accountability is demanded from public office holders. And since we've been in power, a lot has been done. There are 280 cases, different cases of corruption that are being looked into. And you recall that the President set up the Oral Preparatory Committee, and their task was just to put together information relating to these alleged cases. They presented a report with the 280 cases, and I can tell you that the Attorney General has commissioned investigations into each of them. You see, the report itself could not have formed the basis for any legal action against anybody because they were just reports. It's like you coming to tell me that your cameraman has done ABCD. I cannot simply say that because you have said it, then I hold him and throw him into jail. I mean, it will not make sense.
How then did you put a value on it, on how much we could recover?
No, so for instance,
that's an estimate?
It's an estimate. So that if this phone costs 200 cedis and it was stolen, that is the amount involved. If you were held accountable for stealing it, it means that you had engaged in corruption to the tune of 200 Ghana. So you put all the figures involved together. There are some that you can recover. Others may yet be difficult because of the nature of the offense. But the point I'm making is that all the 280 cases are receiving attention. I can tell you that more than 100 people have been hauled in for questioning. Some have been arrested. Some were detained for some time. Some have been granted bail. And others too are in court. There are over 20 cases whose dockets are almost done and will be going to court. The Attorney General has already proceeded to court on a number of those cases. So everything is being done to fully implement Operation Cover All Routes. I understand that because of the pervasive nature of the corruption in the recent past, people want to see results and they want it done in a rapid fashion. Government appreciates that fully, except that oral itself has to be done in accordance with Ghanaian law. We cannot act extrajudicially. So anybody accused of wrongdoing must be taken through a process, and the process will end up in a court. When the Attorney General prepares his case and goes to court, it is a court that is in control of the management of the case, a court that determines the timelines within which the case is heard, not the Attorney General. The Attorney General's role is to show up and present evidence that Mr. A or Mr. B has done A, B, C, D, and therefore believes that he has offended Ghanaian law and should be held to account. The court then determines when the case is heard. The court determines how the process is conducted, and then the court determines when the case ends. So it is not within the power of the Attorney General or government to determine the duration of a case. If it was the case that the Attorney General was not forthcoming, he goes to court and court is called and does not show up, he doesn't come to prosecute the case, then you can blame him. But once he goes to court and is following due process, I think that we need to support him. Due process is important because without it, we will live in the jungle and people will be treated unfairly. You see, justice has to be done. The operative word is justice. What is justice? You must use fair means to assess an individual's guilt or innocence. And that is precisely what is happening.
Is it the pervasive nature of which we perceive corruption, or it is the Attorney General. I mean, people say that we have a different kind of Attorney General, you know. He is quite apt with giving information. He likes to really meet the media and tell us everything that's happening. They say that's quite different. In fact, many criticize him, saying that he seems to even convict his people before he takes them to court.
No, I think that can convict. Only a court convicts people.
I agree.
If I said, just for purposes of this conversation, you've stolen this phone, I have not convicted you. I have only accused you. You understand me? The only way you'll be convicted is if you are taken to court and evidence is established against you that indeed you have done what I say you have done. That is when a court will convict you. So merely saying that as Attorney General, when I came into office, I had information that MFR had taken this phone. I therefore asked the BNI to investigate the matter. They have done an investigation. They say that on Wednesday, MFR sneaked into this office and took this phone. I have evidence that MFR did it. So tomorrow, I'm taking MFR to court, and I will tell the court that MFR has taken my phone and therefore should face the consequences. I have not convicted you. I have only accused you of an offense. When I say that, nobody will pick you and take you to prison.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so nobody can talk about conviction. You are allowed to come to court and tell the judge that what I said is not true, and that indeed the phone is yours. This is a receipt that shows that it is yours. You only lent it to me. And when you came into my office, I was not there. So you picked it and informed my secretary that you had come for the phone.
Many say that there's reputation matter here because corruption is quite...
Everybody who is taken to court suffers that. Because, and mind you, court cases are not secret affairs. At Joy News, you have a court correspondent, don't you?
Yeah.
Who reports extensively on everything that happens in court. Why do you send a correspondent? It is to follow the case. So every case that goes to court, this is a public matter. The public knows. You in the media report it. In fact, when the case is determined and it is reported in the law reports, you can access the law report and read the details, everything that was said in court. So it is not a secret.
But by this time, it would have finished in court, right?
Yeah, but the point is that I'm saying that what the Attorney General sees is no different from what he says in court. That's all.
How do you feel about...
So really, to say that the Attorney General has done anything, it is not extraordinary. You see, accountability is not limited to only some things. You understand me? The Attorney General is a public official. He has power to detain you for, of course, within the boundaries of the law. Now, so you hear that, the Attorney General has ordered the arrest of MFR. MFR is being kept at BNI. That's all. You get a test report like that. Then tomorrow, the Attorney General comes and says, yes, on Wednesday, I ordered the NIB to detain MFR. And the reason is that I had information that she had taken this phone unlawfully. And I've looked into it, and then I know for a fact, because of the evidence I have, that indeed she has done. So I'm taking her to court tomorrow. That is all. Because he has to account for the exercise of that power. The power to detain you, it curtails your rights. So the public must know, your family must know, your friends must know, your loved ones must know, and the Ghanaian public must know why the Attorney General decided to curtail your freedom on a particular date.
How do we measure the Attorney General's decision to discontinue 7 cases? It's public knowledge.
The Attorney General has power,
of course,
to do what they call nullity. You see, the Attorney General goes to court only when he is convinced that he will secure conviction and that there is sufficient evidence to back the matter. Now, one Attorney General can decide that there is evidence that this watch is not yours. If I replace him owing to the change of government, and I review the case and I find that no, there's a gray area in this matter, which, if pursued, can lead to an acquittal of the accused person. There's no point, because you see, the Attorney General does not prosecute maliciously. If he is not aware of evidence of wrongdoing, he does not have to go to court. There are instances when some people, for political reasons, prosecute people just to waste their time or teach them where power lies. If another Attorney General comes and reviews the case and finds that there's no basis for it, and therefore there's no point wasting, because going to court costs money. It costs resources to investigate. It costs resources sometimes to obtain evidence, to get prosecutors to go to court, and the time and resources involved should be used only in cases where there is some certainty of securing conviction. But if that certainty is absent, the Attorney General is within his rights to say that I can no longer continue this case, but I don't think I'll succeed. Why? Under the previous government, in the Atufossin matter, At a point, the Attorney General issued a null prosecutor against the second accused person. He is the present person who took him to court. But at some point, he issued a null prosecutor for reasons best known to him. Null prosecutor has been issued. Nana Konedu, may God rest his soul. At the time that the 2008 elections were held, was standing trial. After the election,
remind me.
I think it was about the Nsawum Kanwe matter.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. Right after the elections, the then Attorney General issued an only prosecutor in that particular case. Because he didn't think that there was any point continuing. But it was that Attorney General that took her to court.
So it's not what we're thinking, that once there's a change of government.
No, it has nothing to do with that. You review, and indeed, to the credit of this Attorney General, for the first time, he publicly stated the reasons why he had issued an only prosecutor. That itself goes to show the level of transparency that he is operating with. And I think that he deserves commendation for doing that. You know, by law, he is not required to explain why he discontinues. In fact, he doesn't even need to tell the court why he is discontinuing a prosecution. But this Attorney General came out publicly on his own volition to explain. Indeed, he held 2 press conferences to explain his decisions to discontinue particular cases. And it's power that is available. The same laws that gives the Attorney General the right to conduct investigations and prosecute people allows him to discontinue a case if he believes that that case is going nowhere, that there's not sufficient basis to ground a continuation of that case.
Well, as a country, why are we still discussing stringent bail conditions, which has become a mere basis on which the former finance minister, I like to think, would say that he's quite concerned about how he would be treated when he comes to Ghana? Just a casual look. I don't speak for him.
I've had cause in the week, just last week, to dismiss that position. You see, the former finance minister cannot be treated specially. He cannot be treated differently from how everybody
even
treated.
Even if
MFA, you see, we are a country of rule of law. What it means that if any institution engages in conduct that is contrary to law, there is a recourse. So a court can rein in that state institution. So for instance, if the NIB or IOCO arrest you today and they set what you believe to be unreasonable bail terms, all your lawyers need to do is to go to court and show the court why they say it's unreasonable. The court will order your release. So the IOCO or the CID or NIB are not a law unto themselves. They are subject to Ghanaian law. So for somebody to say that stringent bail conditions will be imposed on Mr. Ofuriatta so he won't come,
it's an astonishing claim.
Will be treated. How would he be treated? First of all, how has everybody else in Ghana been treated? That is so extraordinary, exceptional, that Mr. Ofuriatta does not want to subject himself to. He was in government a while ago, wasn't he? When he was in government, there were people who had served in the first Mahama administration who were taken to court. And they faced the same process that he will be taken through in the event that the special prosecutor or any other authority believes that he has to take him to court. Why does he not want to subject himself to the same thing that everybody has subjected himself to? You see, he's not the first former finance minister to have a brush with the law. Mr. Kwakye was finance minister under Mr. Rawlings. When he left office, in the quality grain case, indeed, the judge who presided over that matter in his ruling, in his judgment, stated that Mr. Pepra and his colleagues had not stolen anything, except that their conduct had led to financial loss to the state. Mr. Pepra, as former finance minister, subjected himself. Mr. Pepra is just as highly educated as Ken Ofuriatta. He attended Columbia University. He is an electrical engineer by training, and he became finance minister. He was formerly Minister for Energy and Mines. He subjected himself to Ghanaian law. He too could have fled and cited mistreatment or perceived mistreatment, or in this instance, phantom mistreatment, as a reason why he's fleeing from the law. I think Mr. Ofuriatta is simply attempting to evade justice. That's all. Because the excuses he's providing are not tenable. Nothing has happened in this country to suggest that he will be treated extrajudicially. Since we've been in power, there are former MPP officials who are standing trial also. As for him, he was not even a government official. He was a party official. He is standing trial. As of now, he is a free man. He goes to court and goes back home. Why is Mr. Ofuriatta more human than Mr. Wuntumi, who is a member of the NPP? Mr. Abdul Hanan, the former CEO of the Buffer Stock, National Buffer Stock Company Limited. He was an official in the NPP government, was he not? Today he is standing trial. Is Is he less human than Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta? Gift Yowari of National Service, Mr. CSB of National Service fame. Are they not standing trial? Are they any less human than Ken Ofori-Atta? Did they all not serve in the same government? So why is an exception being made for Mr. Ofori-Atta?
Area of interest, is it justice in the form where there are collections, or there are also...
We said operation recover all loot. So where there's opportunity to recover the loot, why not? You go after it. There are instances where you can be convicted, and convicted, I beg your pardon, and then your properties to can be pursued to recover whatever it is that the state can get from doing so. So that is allowed, and that is precisely what will be done. In fact, in many cases, once the investigation begins, they do concurrent asset tracing to see if they can recover anything for the state, and it is perfectly lawful. When
you look at Sedina Tambaklo's case, does it come to you as though she was fleeing justice?
Well, I think that it was in the course of the trial that she sought leave of the court to seek medical treatment. She didn't come back. The court convicted her in absentia. Indeed, as far back as July 2024, the then Attorney General had filed extradition processes in the United States of America for the American authorities to apprehend her and bring her. And so when people say that the NDC government was doing that about a case, we found it amusing, because we knew that the government of Ghana had already initiated the process and gone through the process to get her to be brought here. The American authorities conducted their search. They found her. I think they arrested her on the same day that Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta was arrested. And she was supposed to go to court yesterday, I believe. I don't know what the...
that's the date that was widely published.
So I don't know what has come out of that. But whatever it is...
But does it look to you as though she was fleeing justice?
Well, I think that you can say that to the extent that she did not avail herself again, that may be the case. But then again, it is up to her to use any legal recourse to show otherwise. And that is why even when you request for extradition, the subject of the extradition request must appear before a judge to determine the merits of the extradition request. If they don't find it meritorious, they will not allow the person to leave their jurisdiction, at least for the purposes of coming to stand trial. And so that is why due process is important. Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta is availing himself or he is appearing before U.S. judicial authorities to determine whether or not he should be brought here. Same is being done for Sedina. Once the process is complete and the determination is made that she should come here, due process will be followed to do whatever it is that must be done in her particular case. But let nobody say that Mr. Ofori-Atta should be treated specially because he has concerns about how he will be treated. As far as I know, Ghana is not a banana republic. We don't throw people into jail without real cause to due process. And indeed, as I had cause to say last week, there was a gentleman, Gregory Afoko, who under the government that Ken Ofori-Atta served in had been granted bail by a court, yet he was kept in custody for several years. I think in total he was in custody for 10 years, despite having been granted bail by a court. He is human, is he not? Mr. Ofori-Atta says he's not feeling well, and I empathize fully with him. But under him, I mentioned that forcing case to you. The second accused, Dr. Sylvester Animana, he used to be the chief director of the health ministry. He had severe kidney failure. He had hearing impairment. He had visual impairment. He could not walk, so he was in a wheelchair. Every time the case was called, he came from his house around Ashoman to the court on the high street and sat down for hours for the case to be heard. If somebody who suffered these severe ailments was put before trial by the government that Ken Ofori-Atta was part of, why is he seeking special treatment? Is he more human than Dr. Sylvester Animana? And what will be done to him? Why? So the moment he comes here, we will throw him into jail without taking him to court, or is that what he is suggesting? That is not what will happen. What will happen is that he will be arrested, he will be interrogated like everybody. If they find that there is basis, he will be charged and taken to court. And mind you, it is a special prosecutor who is pursuing Ken Ofori-Atta. The special prosecutor has only enlisted the help of government because the extradition process has to be done by the Attorney General. That's all. And the special prosecutor was appointed by Ken Ofori-Atta's President Akufo-Addo, not President Mahama. So on what basis is he expressing fear about the appointee of his own cousin?
If the extradition process goes through just for purpose of learning, and then he is extradited back to Ghana, the Attorney General then just hands him over to
the authorities will hand him over to the special prosecutor. And the special prosecutor is mandated by law to prosecute people. He is prosecuting some people, is he not?
Yeah.
In fact, even President Mahama, when he left office, was a subject of investigation by the special prosecutor. The special prosecutor actually invited him for questioning, and he obliged. So if a former president, in fact, President Rawlings, when he left office in 2001, for giving the famous boom speech, was invited by the BNI for questioning. He subjected himself to that process. So if former presidents can subject themselves to investigative processes, why is a former finance minister seeking to exalt himself above the laws of Ghana and citing all these untenable excuses to evade justice?
If you look at the immigration laws and extradition processes as well can be so detailed.
Yes.
From where you sit,
absolutely. Does
it look like Ken Ofori-Atta will definitely come to Ghana?
Well, if indeed, at least the special prosecutor who has slapped charges on him has told the Attorney General that he has cause to require Ken Ofori-Atta's presence in Ghana, and therefore the Attorney General should begin the extradition process. The Attorney General requested details of the case to satisfy himself that there is basis to do so, because even the U.S. authorities would request details to satisfy themselves that there is basis to do so. Indeed, you may have read that the judge hearing Ken Ofori-Atta's case now requested for evidence of the extradition request.
Yeah.
And that will come with detailed documentation on what the issues are and why he is wanted. If he finds it meritorious, he will ask that they bring him to Ghana. And when he comes, he will go through the same process that everybody else has gone through when they have been accused of wrongdoing.
Back in Ghana,
yes,
the Constitution Committee, review committee, yes, they have finished their work. I know that it's also been presented to the president.
That is true.
But what are we doing with it?
Well, I think that the president gave an indication of the next steps. It is not the report of a commission, so Ghana will not issue a white paper. If it had been the report of a commission, then we will issue a white paper stating our position. Nonetheless, government will issue a statement to state its position on the various findings, the ones that it agrees with, the ones that it disagrees with, and what proposals there are. After that, an implementation committee will be set up to implement the recommendations, and then they will kickstart all the processes. It has to go to Parliament. Those ones that have to be subjected to a referendum. All of that.
Which part of the recommendation excites you personally?
Oh, I think that there are many of them. For good reason, I would leave that to the government statement. So, I'm not expressing a personal opinion. I think that it will be prudent to wait for the government's position. That will constitute my position as well. And therefore, everybody will know what government makes of the recommendations. But by and large, I think that they've done a good job. The consensus around it has been good. People have praised their work. People have also expressed their disagreements, which is fine. But eventually, it will go into informing what changes we make to the constitution, which though has served as well in the last 33 years, requires some fine-tuning so that it reflects changing times and the present exigencies.
24-hour economy. I dare say that it was your flagship promise.
Yes, yeah, you can say so. Yes. Maybe it was the most popular promise. I believe that the fixing the economy and the problems we had was, in my view, the number one expectation that we had about this. But 24-hour economy was perhaps the most popular of the promises we made, and it gained wide acceptability. And indeed, since we've been in power, we've been taking steps to implement it. One of the first appointments the president made was an advisor on the implementation of the 24-hour economy. He's been at work with his team. They are almost done with the framework. At the moment, steps are being taken to establish the 24-hour authority, which will then have the full mandate of law to implement the 24-hour economy program. About 110 million Ghana cedis has been allocated to them to facilitate the implementation. When they are done, they would then roll out a program to register all entities that want, both in the public and private sector, that want to participate in the program. And then they will take steps to ensure that the incentives that we promised as basis for the implementation of the 24-hour economy program are put in place. Then we'll begin to reap the full benefits of that program, because it is a game changer that will revolutionize the economy. It will expand the frontiers of our economy, and more importantly, create jobs. Because once you expand the economy, it means that you create more space for the teeming youth of our country who are in search of jobs. And we are excited that this will start pretty soon. Yeah.
Some of the commitments that you make during campaign, when you are in government, definitely you may want to look at it again. When I imagine 24-hour economy under this government or under this regime, what shall I imagine? What shall I think of?
Basically, it's an economy that never sleeps, that works around the clock, and that is able to create additional space for businesses, both in the private and public sector, to flourish, and in so doing, create more job opportunities for our youth. That essentially is what the 24-hour economy. Mind you, it is also complemented by an accelerated export development program, because which first aims at achieving import substitution, so that those things that we import that we can manufacture here, in which we have comparative advantage, we do so. And then we switch to an export orientation, where we are now able to export products and be able to earn foreign exchange to address some of the problems we've had with our currency.
When I looked at the document during the launch, I noticed that it's been put in some thematic areas in achieving that policy. In there somewhere, I still saw that there were some factories that will be started. Then I asked, why then do you discontinue 1D, 1F?
No, but none of the factories under 1D, 1F has been done away with, so to speak. In fact, if you set up a factory, I would imagine that is the initial setup that you require help. But once you start working over a period of time, you should be able to operate on your own. We don't believe that the way that they were doing it was the way to go. We believe that you need to create the space to incentivize these companies to flourish, rather than just throwing money in there. And also, they implemented the 1D, 1F in a manner that was difficult to measure in terms of tangibility and outcome. It did little to reverse our import dependence. It did little to help us achieve an export orientation. And it certainly did little to ensure that we overcome the challenges with Forex and all the associated difficulties. So it was important that we have a more broader program that addressed economic expansion and unemployment.
What kind of promise are you giving to young people watching you today? Just some months ago, the same Ghana Statistical Service, and I'm quite passionate about it, says that 1.3 million young people do not have jobs. Are these real numbers?
Well, of course, it is unacceptably high, but even this is what the Statistical Service is able to churn out. So it is not acceptable. It is way too high, and it is a major threat to the well-being of the young people of this country. And government is working hard to reverse this trend. So there are a number of programs, apart from the 24-hour economy. Even the stability of the economy itself allows businesses to be able to invest more. When they invest more, they expand, and they are then able to, as it were, employ more young people. So the first order of business is to fix the economy. Interest rates are falling from 30s to around 18, 15 or so. That then means that businesses are able to borrow at a less expensive rate to expand their businesses. And once they do that, they are then able to employ more people. So that's one of the ways that you address the unemployment. Then there's direct government intervention through policies like the 24-hour economy. And then there are policies in apprenticeship. In fact, as I speak to you, I have an invitation from the Abuasi Market Citizens Assembly to attend the presentation of equipment to people who have been trained in various crafts and trades under the National Apprenticeship Program. So I'll be going next weekend to participate in that program. They are part of thousands of people, young people who have been trained under this government. You recall that money was allocated for it in the 2025 budget. Money has been allocated to it for it in the 2026 budget also. So
did we exhaust the money that was allocated?
Oh yes,
in the 2025
absolutely. I think that about 10,000 youth have benefited from National Apprenticeship Program. Similar numbers are expected this year. There's also the Jumera program, which aims at creating entrepreneurs as opposed to job seekers. That one too, I know that there are thousands of youth who they are training in various entrepreneurial activities. Indeed, when the trade minister was here for the government accountability series, he disclosed that up to 154,000 youth had been trained in apprenticeship, and that thousands of them have been given startup kits to start their own business. Indeed, she also mentioned that millions of cedis had been given to some of them as startup capital. So all these efforts come together to form a framework within which government is trying, in addition to conventional employment opportunities, to allow young people to own their own business, to receive training so that they can set up on their own and perhaps even employ other young people who are seeking jobs. So there's a panoply of options that government is exploring to address the unemployment. But we are the first to concede that unemployment is extremely high, unacceptably high, and something urgent needs to be done about it, which is precisely what we are doing.
Okay. I mean, I'll take you back to the Constitution Review Committee. Any timelines particularly? I know that you will not issue a white paper, but you would at least...
There will be a statement that conveys government's position. But I think that it should be done in the coming weeks. The President said that once the New Year festivities are over, we will get down to it. And it is being worked on as I speak to you. Okay. Because the Attorney General and the President's legal counsel and other stakeholders are studying the report, so it will not be long before the position is put out. And the next steps undertaken. Okay.
How much or what will it cost us to revisit the LGBTQ bill or conversation?
Well, I don't think it costs anything. The bill is in Parliament. I'm an MP, so I know that the bill is in Parliament. So it's going through the usual processes that bills go through. Unfortunately, the MPP government dragged their feet and refused to sign the bill into law, even when Parliament passed it. But once that Parliament expired, it meant that the bill too had expired, and therefore we had to restart the process. So it has to go through the same processes again, and that is what is happening. Once we go through that, then the appropriate action will be taken to ensure that we have a fit for purpose law in that regard.
Sometimes when I look at the shots that will come from Parliament and I see you in the state, I say, oh yeah, he's an MP.
Yes. So sometimes I have to remind myself that I'm an MP. Yes.
How is the constituency doing?
Oh, it's going well by God's grace. We are doing the best we can to improve the living conditions of the people. One of the biggest problems they had was roads. The roads are pretty, but then campaigning, it was hell getting from one place to the other. Fortunately, there are about 4 roads that are currently under various stages of construction. The notable amongst them is the one in the district capital, Abudunkwa. Okay. Construction started, I think, sometime last month. I cut short for it on, I think, 18th December, if I'm not mistaken, and the contractor is on site working previously. There's one Abakrampa junction to Abakrampa. That one too is under construction. The one that will start very soon, in a matter of weeks, is the Asebu to Bremsu Road. It's a 12-kilometer road. The Iguasi to Amosima Road. That one started under the previous government, but it was abandoned because we were not paying the contractor. We are working previously to honor the certificates for the contractor so that he can resume work. So at least in the next year or two, we should have about 4 major roads well done, and then we'll move on to other parts of the constituency.
Personally, we'll check on these roads.
Oh no, it shouldn't. Okay. But I am even keener to check on those roads to ensure that the timelines are met, because the state of roads in that constituency is pretty bad. Okay. And I intend to do something about it by getting the appropriate authorities to respond swiftly to the concerns that we have with roads. There are also issues with unemployment like everywhere, and therefore we are making efforts to ensure that as many youth in the constituency get opportunities. And then there are issues with agriculture. It's an interesting constituency. There's a significant part that whose main preoccupation is fishing, and then the other part is agrarian. And so both sets of agricultural activity are receiving attention. The fisher folks have had some reforms in the way that premix management is carried out, and so they are quite happy about it. In the farming section, we hope to benefit from the farmer services centers that President Obama promised. Indeed, if you check the 2026 budget, 50 of them are to be established, and we are working assiduously to ensure that we get one to the AAK district to help farmers, because many of them are into citrus production. And unfortunately, there were times when I was campaigning and saw that there were heaps of orange and lime by the roadside, which were going bad. They simply didn't have a market. And so you find vehicles coming from as far afield as Côte d'Ivoire to cut them away at very cheap, ridiculous prices because they didn't have, there are a number of factories that have set up to process this. And we hope to attract more of these factories so that through that they generate employment and then are able to add value to the producer and give the farmers competitive prices, which makes their toil worthwhile. So we are working hard to ensure that we turn around the.
I can have a conversation with you till like on. Thank you so much. You made
the pleasure is mine.
Sit with us. The NPP flag bearers raised. Do you care about it?
Well, we are indifferent. My view is that given what they put the people of Ghana through, and given the dramatic transformation in the economy, they will find it hard to convince Ghanaians to choose them over the NDC, because the average voter is a rational decision maker.
So you don't care who actually?
I don't believe that it matters who they bring. They were all together in the poor governance that we witnessed, and then particularly for the front runner, Dr0ps. He was the one who was front and center of economic management. Except that lately, it is not even clear what they themselves think was the case. In one breath, they say he was responsible for every economic policy. In another breath, he was not in charge of the economy. In another breath, it is his policies that are underpinning the Ghanaian economy. And then in another breath, they say the economy is in shambles because people are suffering. So clearly, one does not know what the NPP themselves think about. And that kind of confusion, in my view, does not convince the electorate that they are ready to govern this country properly. But we wish them well. We will, however, continue to focus on delivering on our mandate. And we believe that once we deliver that mandate properly, the people will make a choice that reflects the delivery of that mandate when the time comes for them to go to the elections again.
This is my special accountability series session with you. I'm certain I'll be here mid-year, maybe
no
June.
You're more than welcome.
To take another stop. But thank you so much. Have yourself a good year.
All right, same to you. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Right.
And thank you for staying.